All right, Nick, let's talk about the Las Vegas Raiders. This is a team coming off the back, I would say, of a disappointing season last season, to say the least. But this is a team that, when you have a disappointing season, you have a lot of room for improvement. And there's some key pieces that we have seen on this team that look to be potential big time improvements for the coming season.
Yeah, Miles, I couldn't agree with you more. It looks like a new Las Vegas Raiders making a great name for himself based on the report that you dug up. But before we get into that, Raiders fans, look, you guys, at this point, you've been through a lot of training camp. You've seen some preseason football. Now's the chance in the comment section below for you to give us your breakout candidate on this Raiders football team, the guy that you think is really poised to have a massive season that no one is paying attention to. Give us that guy in the comment section below. All right, Miles, what you got? What's the latest report out of Las Vegas?
Yeah, Nick. So let's talk about potentially probably the position or side of the ball that has the biggest room for improvement. That was the defense. The defense needed a lot of help, and I think they got some really great guys. Obviously, the Marcus Peters addition is going to be huge for them going forward. Having a guy like a ball hawking corner that can make plays on a defense that really was not making a lot of plays last season is always going to be big. But what if we could add to that? And what if we could add a rookie to that mix who looks like they could be contributing to this team? That could be very, very big. And we have a story about just that, Nick. Of course, Jakarian Bennett looks like a star in the making, a guy, coming through training camp looking really, really good and fighting his way potentially to having that starting outside corner position outside the other side of Marcus Peters. But let's get into the story from Bleacher Report, and then we'll talk about specifics. It says, while free agent pickup Marcus Peters is a lock to occupy one of the starting outside corner spots, ESPN's Paul Gutierrez reported that Bennett has been battling recently signed veterans like Brandon Fashion, David Long, Duke Shelley, and incumbents Amik Robertson and Tyler Hall for the job opposite of Peters. Nate Hobbs may also be in the mix despite playing nickel most of last season, which I think will probably end up staying there. But despite the fierce competition, it appears as though Bennett has the inside track after an impressive performance in training camp. The Maryland product has embraced the rigors of practicing against some of the game's top wideouts, which I think that's very, very key point there, Nick. Legendary Raiders running back Marcus Allen recently said Jakarian does an outstanding job of really leveraging routes, being in the right place at the right time, making plays on the ball. He's really popped out as a rookie on our football team right now. So that's high praise from an NFL legend, Nick. I think that really also stands out to me a lot. And if Bennett's instincts have caught up to his outstanding athleticism, he'll be a draft steal for the Raiders team that desperately needed one for their secondary. Nick, there's so much to dive in here. There's a lot of great praise for Bennett early on. He's an athletic freak. He's gotten high praise from NFL greats. He's consistently sharpening iron against the best wide receivers in the NFL, the likes of Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, Jacoby Myers. There's a lot of great talent on this team. So I think this guy is setting himself up to potentially be a really solid player in the NFL. And I think the Raiders have gotten themselves a steal here. What do you think about Bennett, and how does this affect the defense?
Yeah, so this is one of the guys, and look, people that watch our show know that every time after the draft, we go through pretty much every single team and we try and find draft steals, right? What are guys that fell into the second, third, fourth, fifth rounds that we think are really talented guys that are going to have strong impacts? And look, when I did some research on Jakorian Bennett, when you brought up this story to me before we started filming, I was kind of disappointed because this is one I missed. This is a guy who has all the potential of being a big-time draft steal, because if you look at his story, this is a guy in high school from Mobile, Alabama, didn't get a lot of playing time because he was a late bloomer, didn't hit his growth spurt until his senior year in high school, was a very small recruit, went to community college, ended up going to Maryland, where he made a name for himself being a big-time playmaker. 27 passes defended over the past 2 seasons. That's a lot. Getting just 10 or 11 in a season would put you at the top of pretty much everybody's list. He got about 13, 14 between the 2 seasons each year on average. That's much above average. A number of interceptions as well. This guy was a playmaker, plays the ball exceptionally well, an athletic freak. Miles, you mentioned it. This guy had a 4.3 40. He's a 1.48 shuttle, a 40-inch vertical. This guy has elite level NFL athleticism and was a playmaker in college. He also had to do it. I think here's the important thing. He played for Maryland in the brutal Big Ten, which means he was covering wide receivers at Ohio State with no help from a defensive line, no help from linebackers, no help from other secondaries. This was the guy who had to be the guy in a lot of situations where he was on a team that was not very talented. When you get to the NFL, that gap will narrow. I think he'll have a chance to make even more plays, especially with his athletic skill set. I'm not surprised with the plays that he's making, the fact that so many people are impressed with him up to this point. And look, to be honest, you kind of brought it up, Miles. This is a Raiders defense, specifically the secondary, that needs a lot of help. They had the fourth worst passing defense last season, and that's with a solid pass rush led by guys like Max Crosby. They needed secondary help. We like the addition of Duke Shelley earlier this offseason. We thought he was a good rotational piece. Peters is a nice player, but I think this is a guy right here that could be kind of the hidden gem, and we're starting to see it look like he could be that kind of guy.